I'm going to go over the reasons why I bought the hybrid system and how it works. And it's just a beautiful system, and this is why I fell in love with it. So let me go over it really quick. Made this simple drawing to explain you very simple. I'm not an expert, I'm just going to explain everything that I know. If I miss anything, just let me know and educate me in whatever I don't know, but this is what I know. So KTM air forks, they have a very good advantage where they're very tunable, and where they do really good is they have a lot of hold up whenever you jump big jumps and you case them or you over jump them or anything. They have air forks, which is the one on the left, and they're able to hold very good pressure. Just to demonstrate how this works, this is assuming this is the air fork on the left, and this will be obviously air. So watch what happens when I compress this syringe, and I compress, and eventually you see the air on the bottom holds up. And when you push down, let's say you over jump and jump, and you push down, you see how there's a hold up there of air, and it has really good bottoming resistance. That will be the air fork. That's why KTMs with air forks are so good whenever you over jump and jump and just case it, and that air holds you up so well in the bottom of the stroke. But again, just for illustration purposes, let's say this is the spring. Whenever you have springs in your suspension, this is more of a mechanical limitation. I know this is tiny, but this is the only spring that I could find that I could also push it down with my fingers. So let's say you over jump a jump, and whenever your bike lands with the spring fork, this is what happens. It compresses, and then cling, you hit metal to metal, and it limits, and you bottom out on the stroke. And that's why when you jump and you case, it feels so harsh, and the suspension completely bottoms out, and that energy is transferred to you, to the rider, and it also might spring you like really bad out of the track. So that's what air forks are so good at. But, and again, for illustration purposes, the big disadvantage about air is this right here in the initial stroke. Again, we're going to go back to the needle. This is the air fork. In the initial stroke, right here, there's not enough bite as the spring. So whenever your suspension is trying to track with the dirt, you have that initial like vague feeling of air. Eventually, after the suspension is compressed more, it starts to bite to the ground. But that initial feeling is not there, where the spring fork is always right there. So whenever you're tracking and going through little bumps and little rocks in the dirt, the spring makes contact faster to the ground, and you feel more connected to the ground. And this is where spring forks are really good at. But again, it has its limitations. So that's why the hybrid system uses both. On the left, you use a lower PSI from the regular. So the regular KTMs, you run about 145 PSI, which is pretty high. And so instead, on this system, you run about 65 PSI. 65 PSI. And that allows that being a lower PSI, it allows to, whenever you're hitting small chop, it just goes through it. And all you're doing with the left fork, you're just having that bottoming resistance when you actually over jump a jump or hit a big jump or anything like that. All you're using is that bottoming resistance. And probably from here all the way up is all taking care of the spring fork, which is the other one. And it's just such a beautiful system because you have everything in one. And that's why Star Racing Yamaha uses the hybrid system. They have their own KYB hybrid system, which is not what I have, but it's just the same system. Just theirs are way better, probably, obviously, but yeah, this system is amazing because it works beautiful. You get everything. You get the bite from the spring, and you get the hold up from air. Yeah, dude. And people wonder, and people have asked me, would you feel the difference because it's only a spring on the right? Do you feel whenever you're turning to the right, you feel like there's more bite turning to the right than to the left? And honestly, you don't feel any difference at all. And also having this hybrid versus just two of the regular springs, it's lighter because you have one that is air versus having two that are springs. So you have one air, one spring. That makes the system lighter than a regular two springs. And again, going back to the explanation, when you have two springs, let's say you start over jumping stuff and you're bottoming out. So what people do, and obviously that's the only thing you can do, is you start making your springs stiffer, which is going to fix that over jumping and that bottoming from the forks, but it's also going to make it stiffer, which you're going to lose traction. So this is where, again, this is just for me is the best system because you can keep that plushness on the spring and always have that air that's going to hold you in the bottom in the bottom of the stroke. So that's a very simple explanation, and this is why I love the system. And I guarantee you many more professionals will be using it if it wasn't because of sponsorship issues and stuff like that. But that's why Eli Tomac runs this system in the KYB brand. That's why All Star Yamaha uses it, and it's amazing. And if you have any questions about the system, let me know, and I'll answer as best as I can. Just drop anything in the comments and I'll answer it. But I love this system. And also, let me say that with my new suspension, I've been doing so much testing with the clickers, pressure, and trying all kinds of settings. And one thing I can tell you, whenever you get a new suspension, that's just the beginning. My new suspension hybrid system, it has felt like trash many times, and it's just because I had the wrong clickers and wrong settings. And I've been doing so much experimentation and testing and learning these past 2 years, and I want to share everything that I have learned as far as suspension goes. So I'll be making a new video series about everything that goes into suspension, the sag, static sag, finding the balance of the bike, because for me that's the most important thing that I have learned, especially this year, finding the balance on the bike with the right sag, getting the right spring. I'll be going into detail how to understand and when to tune rebound, compression, high speed, low speed. I'll be going into detail of everything that I have learned in suspension. So this has been the most that I've progressed in my dirt bike, and it's all because I took the time to learn how to adjust the suspension. The suspension is everything, and that's why the pro riders, you know, they cannot go fast sometimes because their setup was off, because every track is also a little bit different. And it's not an excuse from the riders. It's a real thing. It's a fact that if you have the right settings and you're able to go to your full speed and potential, being also safe and feeling secure. Because a lot of people, they don't know anything about suspension and they just try to go faster when the suspension and the settings will not allow, and that's why they crash and they get injured. So honestly, instead of spending thousands of dollars on crazy parts to make the bike faster, just don't spend any money and take the time to learn about suspension. And if you're gonna spend money, spend it on suspension. That's the best upgrade you can do to a dirt bike. You will ride safer, more secure, you're gonna get less tired. And I have found so much this year that the arm pump it goes so much with suspension, because suspension is not set up properly. You're going to be fighting the bike, and you're going to be holding so tight to the handlebar because you don't feel safe. And as soon as you get the suspension feeling comfortable and fixed and responding fast enough with the rebound according to your speed, you will be going a lot more faster with no arm pump and safer. So stay tuned for all the upcoming videos about suspension, and let me know if you want to learn anything else.